right ahead, Lee.
All right. Item number 2 on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. So let's go. Pledge of Allegiance to the
The
flag.
flag of the United States of America,
America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's kind of an interesting collage of voices coming in at different times.
Can you give me 1 second, Lee? I had another public come in. 6739, are you part of the public or are you a commissioner?
Part of the public.
All right.
Okay, item number 3, a roll call.
Dick Olby,
Here.
Deborah Greenacre,
Here.
Catherine Levy, Bill Connor,
Here.
Ron Himbo, Dennis Otto, Lee Trucks,
Here. Okay, next item is approval of the minutes. Do we have any additions or changes to the minutes?
It's approval of the agenda, Lee.
I'm sorry, approval of the agenda.
I do have one potential modification. It was to add Jeff Gordon to the agenda. He did have his packet in, but it took some time for us to verify if his permits were good through the state. That is up to you guys. Currently, I do not have the packet available to you guys within the packet I sent out, and I know some of the board members are only on phone, so if I share the screen, I don't think they'll be able to view it. But with that said, it was a request that was made. The first part of that being, do they have an approved permit? Has been satisfied from the state, and Safe Build has verified that they have permits that have been approved from last year, August and September. So saying that, if you guys choose not to add them to the agenda this month, I will add them to the agenda next month with the packet and information. So I don't know if that was the public that came in, the 6739, but that was a request that was made.
What's a normal process for getting on the agenda?
It has to be 10 days out, which they were. He did submit his packet 10 days out, but I wasn't able to verify that his permits were good until this morning.
Okay, but he did apply 10 days out.
That is correct.
Okay, I have no problem with it then.
All right, and all of the permits are good?
The permits that are on file with the state, we have had some difficulty verifying, what the permits are for exactly, but he does have valid building permits on file with the state.
Is his request for anything that's different than were on any of the other requests for a certificate?
I am unsure, as I did not sit through those meetings. I could see if the public is in fact, our one other public here is Jeff, or we could add him to the agenda, and if he chooses not to show up, I can add him to the agenda for next month.
You don't know if he's giving us.
I don't know if that 6739 is him, to be honest with you. I could ask. Hold on 1 second.
Is he
6739?
asking for a new certificate of
Yes.
appropriateness?
And yes, this is me, Jeff Gordon.
Okay, that is Jeff. Okay. So he is here, so it is completely up to you guys.
My question would be whether there are any changes in the details of the certificates that would change our former approval, that we would have to be able to see the changes to make a decision.
I'm going to place that to Mr. Gordon, if that's all right with you.
Okay.
Jeff?
No, the answer to that question is no. This is a renewal of the existing permits. There's not a change to what was contained within them.
Okay, it's my understanding that if there are no changes and we approved it before and all of the building permits and everything are up to date, that we should approve the renewal.
With speaking to the city attorney, I believe that would be correct.
We have to approve a renewal, or is it just go on the one that we've got outstanding?
If you guys have approved it and felt that it met the conditions, if nothing's changed, you would approve it based on the fact that it is still meeting the conditions that you guys had originally approved.
I don't think we have an option, do we?
But for 10 years, I have no idea what where he is.
I mean, we could, it's difficult via Zoom. We could put them on the agenda and ask the questions and move through the meeting. And then we could post those questions directly to Jeff.
Well, I think we should do that while we have him on the phone.
Is there a motion to, we're at approval of the agenda at this point. Is there a motion to amend the agenda to add Jeff Gordon's renewal request?
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as written with the amendment of Jeff Gordon's topic included.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we amend the agenda to add Jeff Gordon's renewal request. Can we have a roll call?
Dick Olby,
Yes,
Deborah Greenacre,
Yes.
Bill Connor,
Yes.
Lee Trucks.
Yes.
Lee, where would you like to put them on the agenda? At the very end of new business?
That's where I would put it.
Okay.
Okay, next item is approval of minutes.
also move we approve the minutes as read.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes as submitted. Are there any comments, objections? Okay, let's have a roll call vote.
Bill Connor,
Yes.
Dick Olby,
Yes,
Deborah Greenacre,
Yes.
Lee Trucks.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is public comment on agenda-related items.
Maybe 1 second. T, do you have any comment on or agenda-related items?
No, I will do it. I will talk when under new business.
Jeff, do you have any comment on public-related items?
Just happy to be on the agenda. No, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, new business, 135 Washington Street, Rebel Sanctuary, COA.
Okay. This was, these are just, I wanted to kind of, whenever we grant a certificate of appropriateness, whether you guys do it or it's through Mark, I want to just kind of keep track of it. This was a vinyl stickers that was approved via Mark. And as you can see through the pictures in your packet, that this is what is basically approved, was a Rebel Sanctuary. Also, we approved for it to be on the door and if they wanted additional on the other window.
and Mark has approved it, right?
That is correct.
Do we have to ratify that?
I don't know. I don't think so, because I believe you gave Mark approval via motion. Is that correct?
I believe so. I think that this is only for our information.
That is correct.
Yeah. Mark has approved other similar kinds of requests in the past that we've not had to ratify.
Okay.
So this is just to let you aware that these are taking place.
142 Washington Street, the Cray Building.
Yeah, this was also approved by Mark. It was for the replacement of 6 windows. They had quite an extensive packet here, but essentially you approved the replacement of those 6 windows.
Sounds good. We don't need to approve that either. It's been
No.
done, right?
Okay, 345 River Street, Millennial
All right.
Decor.
This was vinyl signs for Millennium Decor. Amor Signs had submitted this, and it was approved again by Mark.
Any comments from board members? Okay, 86 Washington Street, North Channel Brewery Building.
All right, I am going to let T speak on this one, and this one was not approved through Mark. It will require your approval.
Can you also
Yep, I'm gonna.
allow the video?
Yep. There you go.
Okay.
T.
TF Taxiad is on behalf of the North Channel Investors LLC. In your packet, there is the application that we submitted for a change to the original certificate of compliance. And because there were some of the pages had graphics and photographs which were not very clear, I have a series of photographs and slides that I want to share with you. I see that the host has disabled the screen sharing. Can you open that, please?
Yes, I can open that. Yeah. Give me 1 second. I was not there
Sure.
yet. And they have this in their packets, T, as well.
Oh, the one I sent yesterday?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is the wrong one. Give me 1 second, T.
Yeah, I've got my packet the way it is now, but not the new.
Yeah, actually, it's everything is the same. The application is the same, just that photographs and the architectural plan were not very legible, at least in the copy that I saw online. So I can share a cleaner copy and kind of go over the basis for the application until I'm allowed to screen share. We're asking for a change in the original certificate of completion to place new metal siding, vertical siding on the north and south walls of the building, which have been deteriorating since the redevelopment, the rehabilitation of the building was completed about 3 years ago. The north and south walls are actually not part of the original facade of the building. The facade is the east side and a portion of the west side. The north and south walls are actually partitions or share walls between the buildings to the north and to the south that were part of the original Manistee manufacturing company. At that time, the building had 6 sections, and what now is the North Channel building is 1.5 sections of the original building complex. For some reason, I'm not able to share here. I don't know why.
Go ahead, T. That
Let me
should give
try
you
again.
ability to do it now.
Okay, I got it. Okay, so this is the application, and then on the first attachment is, can everybody see this okay?
Yes,
Do I need to make it larger?
No,
that's fine.
Okay, so currently the existing building is the 3-story section and the 2-story section.
Right.
The buildings to the south and to the north were demolished or destroyed by fires. So the north wall of the building and the south walls, both on the 3rd floor and the second floor, are the remnants of interior walls between the sections of the building. When we started the rehabilitation of the building, again, this is the north wall, the north share wall. And you can see where the staircase used to be on the south bottom left portion of the wall. And then this was the south wall, and the doors you can see were connecting the current building with the buildings to the south that were destroyed by the fires. When we rehabilitated, SHPO, the State Historic Preservation Office, and the National Park Service approved the demolition of the north wall and the installation of a new wall with the same windows as we have now. After that approval, we found a way to keep the north wall, reinforce it and attach it better to the building. And then there were openings made for windows and doors. That essentially saved about $200,000 in the rehabilitation cost. And then on the south side, same thing. However, what we found after about a year is that the brick on this exterior north and south walls was soft as compared to the east and the west walls, and therefore it started deteriorating. And you can see now on the north wall, it started coming apart and has become worse over the last 2 years. And there is a close-up of where the brick is actually flaking, and it takes with it the stucco that was placed and the paint that was placed over the bricks. Similarly, on the south wall, the paint and the brick behind it still absorbs moisture, and with freezing and thawing, it starts coming apart. There is another detail of that. So there were several attempts to repair this, the failing stucco, However, the brick, again, is soft brick, and it cannot stand the weather elements. Therefore, the recommendation by contractors and architects is to, here, let me move this a little bit, to keep the brick on those walls, but cover it with horizontal metal siding that will be placed on top of the bricks, the brick wall. So the brick wall will remain there, but then there will be spacers placed between the brick and the metal siding to allow some air circulation that seems to cause the deterioration of the brick. So this is the south side of the building, and then there is the north. There is a section on the southwest corner of the building that was also a common wall with a building, a smaller building that existed to the west of the current building, and that also being interior walls, it the brick is failing. So the request is to allow the placement of the new siding on top of the existing walls. And let me enlarge this. And the siding proposed is actually similar to the metal siding on the 334 River Street building, that's Jim Matthews building, except it will be painted. We have a painted finish flat, and it will have the panels are 36-inch wide with ribs at 12-inch intervals. And the color that was selected by the architect is a light stone, which matches the current color of the north and south walls of the building. I was informed yesterday that by the owners that the contractor has not provided yet to the administrator a hard or a copy, or not copy, but a sample of the metal siding. But it's made by MBCI, manufactured by MBCI, and the specification is PBR Galvalume siding. With that, I can answer any questions, and I can go back to any of the photographs for any details you would like to discuss.
I commend you for your preservation of the building. I think it's absolutely necessary to do exactly what you're planning, and I would move to approve the permit or the right here,
Nick Albee has,
the certificate of appropriateness. I'm sorry.
yeah, Nick Albee has made a motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness for the changes as presented. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, that was Deborah, right?
Yes.
Okay, Deborah Greenacre has seconded it. We're open for discussion.
I don't have a good sense, and I'm sorry I'm not on the Zoom video part. What will it look like? How different will it look from the way it looks today, other than the fact that the way it looks today, it's deteriorated?
Yeah, it will be new siding. It will be like metal siding, again, similar to the building on 334 River Street. On the
Which
west
building
side,
is, I'm sorry, which building is that, 334 River Street?
that's Jim Matthews Building. That's on the north side of River Street, next to, just immediately south of the insurance company building.
And that's in the rear of the building too, the river side of the building too, T.
Pardon?
That's in the, or I should say, Bill, that's on the river side of the building. That is facing the river. That's where the meadow is.
That is correct, yes.
Yeah.
And it's a vertical siding, very similar to this, except that it's galvanized material, again, similar to this, but it's not, it was not painted. This siding will be painted. It will be a flat paint, flat finish, and it will be, the color will be the same as what we have on the building currently.
So if you look at the screen, I believe this is 334 River Street, the galvanized steel that he's discussing.
That one's not painted.
Yeah, this one's not painted, so, oops, I pulled it off.
Correct.
There you go.
Mark, do
Well,
you
Mark,
have any comments on this?
I'm sorry?
Do you have any comments, Mark?
I really don't. Like I said years ago, as T stated years ago, the Historic District Commission did approve that's very similar siding on the rear of 334 River Street. So, I mean, that's somewhat of a precedent. And so if you do for one building, I mean, what's the argument for not doing it for this building? You know, so.
If I remember correctly, on the 334 River Street, that actually was replacing some metal siding that was already there.
There was some metal siding there, somewhat, and I think there was some brick that was falling apart from that too. So, yeah. But there was some metal siding there, which was previously covering up some of the brick too. So
The metal siding, the old metal siding that was pretty rusted out, was on the north part of most of the north wall, and then on the west wall, that you can, just to the west, that was brick that was deteriorated, and therefore at that time the Historic District Commission allowed the developer to cover both walls with, and actually part of the north wall, east wall, with that siding.
Well, you got a good example in the picture. You got the metal siding, and then you got the brick down below it. Which one looks best? That's probably the way the brick looks on your building too, isn't it? Gee, it's going to look deteriorating.
Yeah, and in addition to the appearance, we have two more issues. One is that we really don't have another good alternative to fix the deterioration, because some areas have been repaired twice, and they have the stucco that was placed on top of the brick fell out, and so did the paint. Secondly, there is an issue with fragments of brick falling off the walls causing a safety issue. Not too long ago, some pieces fell down on the north side by the door to the brewery, the north door to the brewery. So we have a safety issue. And thirdly, we would like to preserve the original brick walls. Even though they were interior walls, it is our feeling that there are still historic walls that we want to preserve. And as part of that preservation, we need to cover and also to provide some air circulation. And so between the metal siding and the original wall, there will be spacers that would allow for some air circulation that seems to also be causing the problem.
Do we have any more comments or questions?
No, I just like to echo what Dick said, that we commend you for making that eyesore become a building that's something that's very nice for Manistee.
Thank you.
If there are no more comments or questions, can we have a roll call vote?
Bill Connor,
Yes.
Deborah Greenacre,
Yes.
Dick Olby,
Yes.
Lee Trucks,
Yes. Okay, next agenda item is Jeff Gordon's request for certificate of a renewal on several certificates of appropriateness.
Okay. Mike, I don't know to what extent you've been able to, I sent you a note. I wasn't able to finalize in the short time another summary. I did send over to you with the package. If you're able to bring up on Zoom, there's supporting detail associated with 347 River. I don't know if you have access to that. And frankly, if you could pull up the first picture, which is the front entry as it was prior to the installation of glass and the completion above the door jamb. If you could pull that up, I think that would be a good talking point, which I could work from for everybody on the call here without moving pieces
Is
of
this
paper around much.
347, Jeff?
Yes, sir.
Okay, hold on one second.
And
There you go.
what you should see is a picture of the mahogany columns. You should see the front entry doors that are installed. The major change associated with it is the glass that's up above that entryway and the transom windows. Do you have that in front of you?
Yes.
Okay. From a perspective, I did hear a comment on the call before, relative to the length of time that these permits have been open. And I thought it appropriate maybe to start with that and maybe add some clarification. When we started these projects for 347, 349 River, as well as 411 River, we submitted permits, applications of appropriateness describing the totality of what we intended to accomplish. And when we submitted these requests, we submitted them as a series of individual requests, with the idea that while we would get approval for the entirety of the project, that we would work on one piece, complete it, work on the next piece and complete it as well. So the 10-year time frame is probably past. It's obviously that's when we first submitted, but in that interim period of time, if you would to take note of many of the things that we have accomplished. So for example, from a core infrastructure perspective, both buildings have had their roofs completely replaced. Both buildings have had complete electrical updates. The plumbing has been completely replaced in both buildings. In the case of both 347, 411, 349, if you look at the front windows, the upper windows, all of those windows have been replaced. In the back end of 411 River, on the upper and lower levels, all of those windows have been replaced with new windows, new Anderson windows. And probably the key, I think, for the 411 that I would want you to note is that the windows that were installed there match the openings that existed before. So I replaced kind of square windows with nice rounded open arches. You know, a lot of detail went into getting that to match what the true original photo was associated with this. We've also installed the back porch on 411. On 411, we added between 6 and 9 courses of brick running along the entire east side of the building that runs from the front to the back. We poured a cement ledge going around the entirety of it. And we tuck pointed front, side, and back of 411. We also tuck pointed the entire front of 347 and the back corner of 347. Just those words, those activities was many summers of activity and quite a bit of work. I'll pause there to make sure that it's clear what we've accomplished, and before I go on to talk about what we still have yet to do to these buildings. Any questions, comments so far?
Jeff, have those buildings been not occupied for the entire 10 or 12 years?
No, that's not correct. We currently live in the upstairs of 347, 349, and we use 411 River Street as a workshop. And also the downstairs of 347 is a workshop as well. I mean, ultimately, when you look at the woodwork that we have and the metalwork, it takes space to receive the raw wood, sand it, stain, varnish, paint. You know, the preparation of the materials is a significant task, and it's a significant piece of completing these various tasks.
Jeff, if I could just comment, you know, no one has ever questioned the work that was proposed or the quality of the work that has been accomplished. The frustration really has been that we have 3 prime retail buildings in the prime retail center of Manistee, which have been basically an eyesore for several decades. And, you know, it's a frustration. It's something that's been a object of comment, not only in the community, but with visitors who come to the community and tourists who say, why do you have all these buildings that are under construction? This has been like this for years. And that's the frustration. So yeah, it's my comment.
Certainly, and I understand that, and I have heard it. I've also heard sort of the opposite, which they're delighted with that things are being done. I've heard comments from tourists and locals as well, indicating their frustration that nobody else within, or many other buildings within Manistee have failed to do even, minor efforts to improve their buildings. And I'm sitting in 347 River Street right now, and there's buildings across the street within easy eye shot of mine that could use a significant uptick and lift.
Red herring.
Yep. Yep, exactly. It's fair.
We know that there's always plenty of work to be done.
So to continue with the timing on this, 2017, the 3-4.
Jeff,
please.
If I could break in here, I don't think that we have any anything that we can do except approve the certificate of appropriateness, because the proposals are appropriate and you have the appropriate building permits. So this discussion is neither here nor there. We just doesn't mean anything at this point. And I would
disagree, Lee, because I don't know. I don't have any idea whether or not he's building according to the original plan or not, because visually nothing's been done to the exterior of the building. Now he might have done something on the inside, the plumbing, the electrical, and stuff, but we don't. That's not part of our certificate. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to vote for it because I don't.
If I can chime in real quick, gentlemen. with anything that's granted today, whether you guys agree to do it or not to do it, I would really appreciate letting Mark review it to see if it actually meets the requirements of it. I haven't looked through this packet, nor I don't know if Mark has either, because it had not initially met our first step until today. The reason I asked to have Jeff on the agenda is because his certificate of appropriateness expired on the 30th, and he did have his packet within the 10 days, and I don't feel it was right for us to keep him off the agenda with that expiration happening, because we couldn't verify the building permit, and that is on the staff, as well as the state not being completely forthright, and as well as a new building inspector in town. A lot of moving parts there, but I didn't feel it was that. So if anything is granted to move forward with giving a certificate of appropriateness, I would really appreciate Mark being able to basically weigh in on it and give his approval prior to any certificate of appropriateness being granted.
Okay, so you want me to do what exactly then, Mike?
It would be basically to review it and see if it, I've never looked at the original certificate of appropriateness that was granted. I have and it looks like a lot of the predecessors to me have just been extending it to say that does the original plan meet our requirements? Is there a plan in here? I don't know what was permitted, I guess is what I'm saying. I could have to dig back through it, but what is being currently presented, is it appropriate, I guess is what I'm asking, because that would be anything that, something that we would do for any other applicant. And I think it's appropriate in this case as well.
Yeah, the question I have also is, if you look at the date of the original certificates of appropriateness, I got March 2012, April 2015, April 2015, October 2008, July 2009. This is 2020. That's a long damn time. And nothing's been done on these buildings that was originally said in the certificate of appropriateness. So I don't know how we can possibly approve it for another go. I really don't.
Well, the conundrum that I have in terms of this is that the original design that was proposed was approved, and that design has not changed. So without any change in that design, I don't see how we can go back to, we can consider it. Jeff was here the last time we renewed one of these. I think it was in April or something of 2019, and said that it would absolutely be done by June of 2020.
And COVID-19 hit and basically ate up the better part of the springtime. And I understand where your points are and frustration. I do object to your point that nothing's been accomplished, because if you go back into those permits, and look at the details, you'll see a whole range of things that were listed, upper windows, cornices, tuck pointing, etc., that have been accomplished. The remaining task that needs to be addressed is to complete the installation of the storefront in 349 and 347, as well as 411. If you look at the drawing that I asked, if you can see the drawing that I asked Mike bring up, what you'll see is the depiction of what is being stood up and deployed in 347. Its mirror image will be stood up and deployed in 349, meaning the mahogany columns will be the same. The transom windows will be the same design. The there's really no variation between the two. And when you look at the two, when they're completed, you'll see what looks to be a completely historical building returned back to the original woodwork trim. You know, the columns, for example, match exactly what the original columns were in dimensions and fluting and what have you. So you'll have a building that looks, you know, from a photographic perspective, back exactly what it used to look like. In a similar fashion, 411 River Street, there are some variations in the woodwork associated with it, meaning the profiles are slightly different, but the end result is identical. It will look like the photographs that existed prior. And that's the design that was approved previously, and that's the design that I'm asking you to extend.
Well, I'm looking at the photographs that are in our packet, and on both buildings, we got photographs from 2017 and 2020, and I don't see one thing that has been done. They look exactly the same.
If you were to go down to 340 in the front of 347, you'd see additional work beyond what you see in that drawing, including the glass windows are installed in the vestibule above in the transom windows, and there is significant work that's been completed from a preparation perspective. It might not be as visible as, you know, it's not a completion, but from the perspective of being able to set the framing's in place, and it's a matter of putting the trim over the framing and actually setting the window frames in themselves.
Well, I'm waiting for somebody to say that we take some action on this.
Back to Mike, to what Mike was asking, and Mark asked for clarification, and I guess I'm not sure either. Mike, are you asking that Mark confirm that the progress to date is consistent with the outstanding or the old certificate of appropriateness?
Yeah, that's all I'm asking. I mean, I'm not an expert on what these buildings originally look like or what was even approved. And I don't even know if Mark is, but
I'm not. If I could just chime in real quick, if Jeff is still proposing that we go off his design of what these were going to look like that he proposed a couple of years ago, and this is what he's still going to be doing, then I mean, what's the problem with that? I guess.
My concern was that that it was actually what was proposed first, with getting the packet and opening it up within a meeting. I just wanted to make sure that, you know, I had a fallback to say, yeah, these are the same plans, if you want to know the honest to God truth on it. But
yeah.
I mean, if they are, then I don't see an issue, but that's basically what I was trying to ensure.
That's what you're trying to okay, I understand now. Yeah. I mean, however the board wants to move forward with that, that's, you know, that's up to them, I guess, but however they want to move forward.
And this is Jeff, if I could add just a couple more comments.
Yeah.
You know, to the extent that I vary from the design, I mean, obviously that would be something that when I come to you and ask for final approval, you wouldn't give it to me. I mean, that's very clear. And Mark, I'd welcome you to come over and, you know, we can review what the design is, what the next steps are, and, you know, you could bring back to the next session of this commission validation that what's being deployed, what the plans are, that they match, you know, what was previously approved.
Yeah.
But my ask of you, I mean, ultimately, guys, if you don't approve it, I'm not sure what that really means, other than good weather, daylight kind of burns past us. And, you know, I don't know if that means I have to stop. I'd have to understand that further. And I don't think anybody on this call wants that, especially not me.
There's nobody in the room today who goes back to the original certificates of appropriateness. I probably have been on the board longer than anybody else. But I don't go back that far to 2008 or 2012. But I can tell you that I have been through the process several times of renewing this, and it always has been renewed with no changes to the original proposal. And it's never been commented that there were significant variations that would make work that has been accomplished not in compliance with the original proposal. So that being said, I'm not sure that we have any alternative except to say, please hurry.
What's your forecast, Jeff, for being done?
I expected that major progress throughout this summer. I do intend to apply for a grant through the DDA to purchase the glass. Obviously, that application is predicated upon receipt of this.
And what if you don't get it?
Approval. If I don't get it, I'll delay the installation of the glass more than likely.
Yeah, there you go. There goes another couple of years. So,
Well, I'm confident that they will. I will continue to install glass as it becomes, if it's reasonable. We can continue to have that, but I'm confident that the DDA will approve funding. This is one of their projects, this is one of their priorities as well. But much like the spin that we had talking about building permits, it ate up quite a bit of time, and obviously the result was you didn't get the full package that I would have liked you to have seen. If you don't approve this, then my application going into the DDA will appear later in their cycle, and conceivably they will have burned through their funds. I mean, this is impactful if you delay.
Have you spoken with the DDA about the timetable on their grant?
I have, but I've not spoken with them since Caitlin's departure, so I do need to revisit with the existing refreshed leadership of the DDA.
What was the timetable that they gave when Caitlin was there?
They said that they received funding in July is the time frame that they received their funding, and that's when they consider funding for those types of programs.
Did they talk about the rewardal process and how long it takes to reward out the grants?
I don't know that I can connect with that, no. I mean, my understanding is that 50-50, I pay half, they will pay up to half.
so if we check with the DDA, they would verify the fact that you have applied for that grant?
No, they would not find that because I have not applied, because I'm waiting for the renewal of my Historic District Commission application. It's my next stop as soon as I get this concluded.
The approval by the Historic District Commission is necessary for the DDA to consider a grant.
Exactly.
Mike, I've heard Lee comment that under the city attorney's letter, we really have no choice on this. You concur with that conclusion?
Yeah, I mean, if...
Okay, then I'll make a motion that we approve the extension of the building permits for the 3 buildings in question.
Bill Connor has moved that we approve the certificate of appropriateness for all 3 buildings. Do we have a second for that?
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the certificate of appropriateness for the 3 buildings that was 347, 349, and 411 River Street. Is there any more discussion? Can we call the roll?
Bill Connor,
Yes.
Dick Olby,
No.
Deborah Greenacre,
Yes.
Lee Trucks.
Yes. Okay, moving on. Viewers submitted or have received the letter that was sent to the city council. This was as requested from the last Historic District Commission meeting. Do we need any action on anything there? I don't think so.
No, I don't think you need an action on it. It's just to allow them to know that it did take place.
Okay, it's just for your information.
Yep.
Okay, permit review. You have been there has been submitted a,
Can I comment on the last letter that we sent to the city?
okay,
I know that this has been approved, but I would not tell the city that they should not pursue their blight ordinance on the properties, because nothing's been done to those properties. Even though he's got permission to do it, nothing's been done, and they've been that way for years. But I still think the city should pursue the blight ordinance. I don't think they're going to stop it just because we got it approved. I would hope.
A certificate of appropriateness does not, would not stop the city from pursuing the anti-blight ordinance.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I said a certificate of appropriateness does not stop the city from pursuing the anti-blight ordinance.
Good.
okay. Do we have any comments on the permit review that was submitted in your packet?
As far as I go, there's nothing from mine. I'm trying to, I laid out a different format for you guys to try to make it easier to follow as we progress through these. And I check them off and go and take pictures of the progress and such. I'll be including those as they're closed out. So any permit that gets approved will be added to this. This is a different format, I guess. How do you guys feel about this format? Do you like it better than the last one, or would you prefer the old way?
No,
I think it's a good enhancement.
Okay.
I think the format's fine.
Okay. All right.
We do not have any at this point expired permits to close out. So moving on.
I did have one question on the Manistee Elks Lodge for Mark. That awning replacement, it was my understanding that that didn't take place, and there was reasons behind that. Just as far as closing it out, is that a definite they're not putting it in, or?
As far as I know, they are not putting it in. I haven't been able to get in touch with the head of the Elks Club to ask her if they are moving forward with it. But from what I've heard, that they are not moving forward with that, because they felt that since they never did have an awning there, that it wouldn't be in the historical nature of the building to put one there. After they were talking about it a little bit more. So.
Okay. That is one of our next ones to expire, it looks like.
Yeah.
I will reach out to them and just try to verify that. And then,
I've had no luck getting a hold of them, so a hold of the person in charge. So.
Okay, and if they're not, then we'll go from there. The rest of these I will be checking and seeing where we're at with them. So.
Yeah.
So just a general question, do expiration dates on here have any meaning anymore?
It allows us to revisit. So, you know, I think keeping expiration dates on here is a very good idea for the simple fact of you can revisit, ask for progress, voice concerns, etc. You know, there was talk of removing them completely. However, I spoke out against it for the simple fact of I think it's good to check and touch base with an applicant for no other reason than to, you know, basically find out, you know, what's going on. A lot of times if you can't get a hold of people, you let them know their permit's expiring, they tend to show up. So.
We just approved the Jeff Gordon 3 properties for renewal, but I don't think we specified an expiration date, did we? Or do we not need to do that?
Typically, by default, we have a 1-year expiration date on there. I will pose that to the chair as to how he wants to proceed with that. But I have also not received the required fee for it for the permit. So for these 6 permits would require unless you guys allow him to consolidate them into 2 permits. But I'll leave that to you. But it would require a $50 fee per certificate for these.
We have no procedure for consolidating permits at this point. Is that correct?
I do not see one, no, because you guys have just established your permitting rules per Kyle, and it was basically as, you know, and I don't know if you charge a lesser fee for extensions as well. I'd have to check on that.
Moving on.
Each of them is treated as an individual permit.
Hearing no comments about changing that, we'll assume that that's the situation at this point. Moving on. Public comments and communications concerning items not on the agenda. Is there any more public comment?
Jeff, do you got a comment?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Oh, that's Mark. I'm
T
sorry,
is
Mark.
gone.
Came back in. And T's gone, so.
Okay. Correspondence.
At this time, I don't believe I've received any correspondence, so.
Okay, reports, museum curator, museum director.
I've got nothing. Mike discussed the couple things that were keeping us busy a little while ago, and so other than that, I don't have anything.
Planning and zoning administrator.
Okay, I did reach out to the DDA to attend the meetings, as you guys requested. They are still in the process of getting a new DDA director. It does look like, you know, they're in talks with the chamber about that. But Kyle Mosier's the chair. I reached out to him to attend the meeting. He declined, saying he would like to wait until they have a director in place. So that is all I have currently.
Okay, any member discussion? We have no work session scheduled, so I think adjournment is appropriate.
A move for adjournment?
Move to adjourn.
Let me hear a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, Bill Connor moved to adjourn. Dick Albee has seconded. Can we have a roll call vote?
Dick Colby,
Yay.
Deborah Greenacre,
Yay.
Bill Connor,
Yes.
Lee Trucks.
Yes. Thank you, people. Maybe at some point we will be able to see your smiling faces. Most of us who are on this board are, well, I don't say most of us, I won't speak to other people, but many of us who are on this board are in high-risk categories for COVID. So
And some of us are better lucky going to the telephone.